it's Ruthie. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, and welcome back if you've been here. Thanks for coming back. So if you're new here on my channel, my name is Ruthie and I make videos about basically whatever I feel like, but I post lots of guided meditations, yoga classes, but I'm taking a little break to focus more on studying yoga right now. So there will be a lot more classes in the future once I settle into my new knowledge. I also have many videos of me talking about my own health history with chronic illness, with inflammatory bowel disease, ulcerative colitis more specifically, and I make updates as I see fit as things change. So I will link that playlist right up here and in the description. And the other playlist I have on here is Ruthie Rambles that I will link here and in the description. It has all the videos of me talking about my own health experiences as well as my opinions about things and some advice, which is what this video is, advice. So if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you love someone, either platonically or romantically, who has a chronic illness. Or you are someone who has a chronic illness who is looking for some more ideas of how you can communicate your needs to the people who love you and the people who you love. I'm gonna talk about all types of relationships. I'm not gonna stick to just dating. I did just make a video that I will link up here and in the description about dating with chronic illness. So if you wanna go deeper into just dating and romantic relationships specifically, then I highly recommend checking out that video. I did make another video quite a while ago at this point, what to say to your loved one with a chronic illness. So I will link that up here and in the description. I think it's mostly just gonna be an extension of that video in some way. But yeah, it'll serve the same purpose. I'm hoping that this video either gives you tools of what you can communicate to your loved ones or give you some ideas on how to best support your loved one who is suffering in some way. So all of the tips or advice in this video are things that I have gathered from my own life and just my own journals. When I look back through my journals of a lot of complaints I've had in dealing with relationships with people. And like I said, not just dating relationships, I mean like my parents, my sister, my friends, and certain road bumps that we have hit where we've had to do a lot of communicating about what is helpful for me and what things aren't helpful for me. So I'm really trying to keep these videos as like my experience, what I've learned from talking to people in my life and sharing that with you guys. So, I'm trying to stop saying guys. Okay, it's so hard. I say guys all the time. Okay, I am excited to share that with you all. See, that was easy. Okay. I'm also going to include some anonymous insights from some of my followers over on Instagram, which I will link down in my description if you want to give me a follow over there. You can always send me a DM on Instagram or email. I will always answer eventually, I promise. Sometimes I take a few days or weeks to respond to people and I feel so guilty about it, but I'm also like not in the right headspace to respond thoughtfully. So I really hope that whenever you guys do get my response, I said guys again, but I really hope whenever you all, I can just say you, okay. But I do hope that whenever you get my response, that shows. I hope it shows that I take time and put thought into the messages I send people. So I hope that kind of makes up for the long wait. Sometimes I respond like in a second if I'm in that space, you know? Anyway, I asked a question on Instagram that just said, what are some things that you wish your loved ones understood about your chronic illness? So I'll be sharing some of those responses here as well. Also, one last thing, I just wanted to say a big thank you to my subscribers. I think I have, what's the number at? It's a big number. It's far bigger than I feel comfortable actively thinking about. 547. I have 547 subscribers. That's kind of crazy. I see other creators like doing videos with like, thank you for like hitting 100 or hitting 500 or 1,000, whatever. And it kind of makes me uncomfortable to think about the number when I am making the videos. I mean, I don't get nearly that many views on my videos, so I guess that's a good thing. Is it a good thing? I don't know. Just for my own insecurities. I don't want me thinking about all the different people who could be watching my videos alter what I say in any way. So I'm just trying to be really open and honest with you all Caught myself. I almost said guys. But I do want to acknowledge that I see you. I see your comments. I see your emails and DMs, and I am just speechless. I love you all. Like, I truly do, and greatly appreciate your support and your encouragement in the videos that I make, because this is a really awkward thing to do. This is like to
put on makeup, set up a camera.
Like, it's a very awkward process to make YouTube videos, never mind sitting and editing it for hours. It's a very awkward thing to do, and you are the reason I do it. It's because I know that this helps a lot of you out there because you've let me know. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you. And even if you don't write comments or reach out to me in any way, just thank you for your ears. Thank you for your time, just for listening to any amount of any videos, because God bless. Okay, so getting into it. Let's get into it. All right, let's get into it. Well, we go ahead and get into it, right, Gracie? Gracie. She doesn't want to get into it.
Let's get into it.
So I would like to emphasize and preface this video, and honestly probably all my videos talking about chronic illness. I don't think I say this enough. Obviously, there are many different types of chronic illness, and the reason that I always just kind of say chronic illness is because I find that the experiences of people who experience chronic suffering or illness that is ongoing throughout their life experience very similar things. Although a lot of my advice and experience comes from my own experience with inflammatory bowel disease and more gastric issues, as well as joints. I have arthritis and psoriasis as well. My experience with chronic illness is an invisible illness, so I don't look outwardly sick. And there are a lot of people who experience chronic illness where it is visible, where they can't walk every day, or just all the different types of chronic illness out there. So I don't want my videos to ever come across as like, this worked for me and it will work for everyone else with chronic illness. I really want to emphasize the fact that I'm speaking from my own experience, and one person with one chronic illness is incapable of speaking for all of the people with all of the different chronic illnesses. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing with race. Like, one black person does not speak for all black people. One white person does not speak for all white people. Asian, like, just, okay, we got this. One person does not speak for an entire group. We are all different people. We all have different needs, and we all have different reactions to the circumstances that we're in. I think that's kind of a given, which is why I don't mention it a lot, but I just really want to be clear and straightforward with what I am communicating, because this is forever. The internet is forever. Okay, without further ado, let's get into it. So one of the hardest parts about living with a chronic illness is that ripple effect that it has on every part of your life, and particularly with your personal relationships. It can just be so hard to communicate to the people in our lives what we need from them and what they can expect from us. And oftentimes we feel guilty for not having enough energy to give to the relationships in our lives. So a really good friend brought up this really great point that I think applies more for if you are living with someone with a chronic illness. It could be your parents, your siblings, roommates, friends, or a partner, a significant other. But she reminded me how a really big pain point in relationships when you are spending a lot of time with another person is when you're feeling particularly bad, and you might be vocalizing that or just being upset about what your current condition is and how you're feeling, and how a lot of people can just hear someone complaining or being upset and take that as a cue that they need to fix it. I remember my mom really expressing this with me, how it was really hard watching me go through everything I've went through, because as a mother, if your daughter or child presents a problem, especially a painful problem, your first instinct is to fix it and make it go away somehow, to just get rid of it. It's really hard on both sides. From the person who is suffering, it's really hard because you want to be able to express yourself and communicate what's going on and how you feel about it. And even if that's really awful, you want to be able to say that. But you're not trying to make the people around you feel bad. So your options are to either swallow it and just kind of nod and say, I'm fine, it's okay, I've
had better days. I've had like,
all that stuff, and just kind of gloss over the way you're actually feeling. It can be easier to do that because you know that they're not going to feel bad about it or take on any responsibility. But sometimes we really just need to let it out, and we need to complain, and we need to express our frustrations. And I think it's really important that loved ones understand that that is not a reflection on anything about you. It has nothing to do with you. They're not asking anything from you. We're not upset at you. It's hard to be in the same room as someone who's upset when there's nothing you can do about it. I totally get it. And from the loved one's perspective, it can often lead to a sense of guilt for not being able to help, and also a sense of resentment because you're listening to this person complaining, I guess, for lack of a better term, about their situation, and there's nothing you can do. And I think it's really important, if this is a more romantic relationship, that you guys are both on the same page of like where your life is at and like what your partner can handle, and just be really honest. It's definitely not for everyone. I mean, I'd always feel really bad dating people or like bringing new people into my life because I felt like I was bringing in someone to like this big mess of a life that I have, just being so nervous that they weren't going to like it and they weren't going to think I was worth it. And the truth is that a lot of people are going to feel that way. It's sad, but there's also so many people who don't feel that way, and so many people who will see the true strength and light in you, and it'll without a question be worth it. When I was going through a breakup, in a situation where I kind of felt like that, like I was just too much. And my mom just reminded me, well, remember that you are never too much for us. And for the right person, for someone who loves you, it's not a problem. It's not even a question. Like, it just is part of the package deal. So I think that's a really good thing to keep in mind if you're dating and getting discouraged. And if you're the mom, dad, brother, sister, best friend of someone with a chronic illness, I think the most valuable thing you can do is speak openly with them and be really open to listening to what they have to say. Because as I said, we are all different people. We all have different needs and expectations and different energy and different everything. We're all different. The one thread of consistency is communication. And it can be really difficult for someone with a chronic illness when they are currently experiencing pain, particularly, to communicate what they feel like, it's too much. Like when the pain is too loud, it's like, I'm not going to spend my time like trying to tell the people in my life how it feels and how much I hate it. Like I just want to go into a ball of myself and not come out for days. I think for everyone it's different. I think some people are going to want you to come up and hug them when they are really doing poorly. And I think other people are going to want you to shut the door and give them some privacy. So I think just being as calm and patient as you can and open to whatever they say they need. Just using your best judgment. Clearly, if you live with this person, if you love this person, you know them better than you might think you do. And remember that there is a person underneath that illness. And don't think too much about their illness and what it's doing to them and how it's making them feel. A lot of that stuff, like the specific symptoms and people's experiences, you can do research on your own and find out stuff about your loved one's particular condition. And I highly recommend that you research their condition, because the more you know about your loved one's condition, the better. But once you understand more about what their illness is and what's going on with their body, you can leave space to see the person, the individual. We are people who suffer from circumstances, just as every single human on this earth does. And I think sometimes people can get a little bit lost of just, I don't know what's going on with her. It's just, I don't know. She's always feeling that way. She's always sick. Whatever. She's always grumpy, whatever. And not remember that, there is a person with a personality, a person who you love that is here. These symptoms and these conditions are part of them. It's part of their current circumstances, but it's not who they are. So I think if the time is right, whenever the energy is right, bringing out the things that you know that person loves, offering activities, playing a board game or reading a good book together, watching a good movie together, doing things that they love and doing something to take their mind off of the pain, because sometimes so much of the pain is that just like focus that we have on it and that fear. Oh, that's actually what someone said. Sometimes the fear of the pain is worse than the pain itself, and just the anticipatory like clenching that you do of like expecting something to hurt because you're just so used to being in pain. And I think the more that you can just connect to your loved one just as they are, regardless of whatever illness they have, just remember that they're a human and they love things, they have passions, and they enjoy doing things, and being a partner that they can do that stuff with, and just reminding them of all the things that they love. And don't be discouraged if they turn you down. Like, look up the spoon theory if you've never heard of it. People with chronic illness have a certain amount of energy throughout the day. And if it's 5 o'clock and you're offering to go for a walk or go, do something that they love with them and they turn you down, don't take it personally. We run out of energy. We have just like everyone, but our stop is a lot harder and there's like no wiggle room with it. Like, as soon as that sun is down, I am in bed unless I have mentally prepared to like go out that night or to do something that night. I need like a lot of advance warning when it comes to like doing activities. That's why I recommended watching a movie or reading a book or doing a puzzle, like things that require less of your energy. And not taking anything personally, remembering that so much of how this person reacts is a reflection of how they feel on the inside. And for me personally, I can 100% say the meaner and the snippier and the more, the less patience I guess I have with my loved ones, then the shittier I'm feeling. And like I am feeling all of those things inside of me. So I have no time or energy for people outside of me. And sometimes that just happens, but it'll go away at some point. There will be moments where things get better in the future, and doing your best to do small, fun, lighthearted activities together when you have the time, when you have the energy. I think that is super, super helpful, and bonding. We want like a bonding experience where we don't feel like we're so alone, because a big thing about living with any chronic illness is that ultimate feeling where you're like, this is happening to me. I am the only one who knows what this feels like. That just kind of sunk into yourself, that like, woe is me feeling. Just feeling so sorry for yourself because you deal with so much shit. And like, it's warranted. You can feel sorry for yourself 100%. But you have to remember to come out of that. You can totally let yourself feel like that. But eventually we have to remember that we are not alone, and that there are so many people out there who are experiencing what you're experiencing, who know what it's like. And if you are the person with a chronic illness watching this, then just seeking out those connections as much as you can, which I would argue you are already doing just simply by watching this video. So, good job, check. So next tip, I did mention in my last video, but it is a great one, so I wanna emphasize it and go deeper into it this time, is if you love someone with a chronic illness, try to understand as much as you can about their situation and the person as much as you can, but at the same time, understand that you don't understand. And I will tell you why. This goes for so many aspects of life also, so take this into everything you do, but understanding that you don't understand is the first step in learning anything. If you're coming at something from a mind space of, oh, I totally get that, I know everything I need to know about that, got it, you're not going to learn anything. You're not going to hear anything new. You're not going to seek out any new information because according to you, you know it all already. So why would you try to learn more? If you spend a lot of time with someone with a chronic illness, you might fall into that tendency of being like, oh, I've seen it all. I've been there through it all. I know what that's like. I've seen this before. You totally think that you understand. And you don't. It's impossible for you to. It's impossible for me to understand how anyone else with even the exact same surgeries I've went through, it's impossible for me to understand everything about how they feel. We will never understand everything about anyone else's experience ever. It's simple as that. And just by remembering that, reminding yourself of that when you do slip into those, like on those more monotonous days where it's like your partner's going through it again. And this is kind of what my last relationship was like, where he definitely thought he knew everything about my illness, and he thought he could see it better than I could because he was watching me go through it instead of like being in it. And I kind of believed him for a while because I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, you're watching me and I'm like so distracted by being inside me. Like, maybe I am doing this to myself. He thought I was making myself sick. And that is a very common thing that people with especially invisible chronic illnesses run into, is that people think you're making it up or you're doing it to yourself, or on some level you want to be sick, which I will definitely get into that in another video I am writing right now. My problems with manifestation and the law of attraction and that whole world. There are things I like about it and all that. I mean, I'll go into that in another video. I will go in, trust me. But we are not making ourselves sick. It's not a thing. Like, there is not one person out there who is like,
oh, I want to be sick and I'm going to give myself this chronic illness because I like feeling like shit all the time.
That's not happening. That's not happening anywhere, okay? So, I mean, I guess there are some people, like, what's that, a hypochondriac? Is that what it's called? Yeah, I guess there are people who, but I don't think that they're not making themselves. I mean, there is that mind-body thing. You see, I can easily get convinced that I am making myself sick, which is, I tried to close the doors today because I kind of wanted to make my background look a little prettier. Now the kitties are going to be playing with the doors. Okay. We're just gonna let it rock. I hope you guys like watching my kitties in the background. I figure, like, why not? And Bodhi. Nice little things to look at while I'm blabbing on. But, what was I saying, Fluck? Anyway, I'm getting very off topic, as always. But understand that you don't understand. That is a seriously important thing to get in that noggin. And I am currently working on drilling it in a little bit deeper, because I catch myself doing it all the time, like thinking that I'm like, oh yeah, I know about that. I looked up something about that one time. And just like passing off things as like, I know it. But it's like, I don't know shit about that. I read 2 sentences of an article and now I'm like, oh, I know everything. Oh, there's some quote that's like, I'll put it up here when I find it. That is a really important thing to remember for everyone, whether you have the chronic illness or whether you love someone with the chronic illness, because this is just what I wrote down. If you believe that you fully understand everything about their illness, you are mistaken. Even if you yourself have the illness, you are not them. It is impossible for any of us to fully understand someone else's experience. When we do think we fully understand something, it blocks us off from learning anything new. You don't need to understand to help. You just need to listen and trust. Listen to them and trust that they know how they feel and what they need or don't need from you. So yeah, if you want to help your loved one, the best thing that you can do to help them is to listen to them and to trust them. You don't need to understand everything about the way they're feeling and their illness, because you won't. You'll never do that. It's a carrot dangling that you're never going to reach. So instead, try to focus more on listening to them and trusting that they understand what they need from you and they will be able to communicate that to you. And if you are someone with the illness, then trusting yourself, trusting that you already know what you need, trusting that deep down, when you quiet all the noise from the outside, you know what you need. You know what you need from the people in your life, and you have the ability to communicate that clearly to the people around you. When we have something that we really want to say or communicate, especially when it comes to this type of stuff, like just a deep dynamic that you guys might be stuck in, I said guys again, that you might be stuck in, it's so helpful to write it down first. It really, really is. And doing it by yourself, getting to the core of you, writing until all the bullshit is gone when there's only truth left, and reading that to them or speaking from what you've learned about yourself to them. And it's all communication. It really is all communication. Any like relationship dynamics, issues just requires communication. It requires honesty with yourself and honesty with the other. So another thing I wrote is remember that their mood is not a clear reflection of how they feel about you. I kind of said that already. There are often many other factors contributing to their mood. Don't take their snippiness personally. Ask them what they need from you. Often all we need is time and space or a hug. So yeah, I think I kind of covered that earlier. Another thing I want you to know if you love someone with a chronic illness is that you are deeply, deeply appreciated. Truly. Many people with life-altering illnesses have lost many relationships with people who don't understand or take their absence personally. So to have you stick around, just period, just for being there in their life, it really means the world. I can promise you that. Even if they don't always show it, even if they don't have the energy to always be grateful for your presence and for sticking around. It's still true. And at the same time that you are deeply important in their life, you are not responsible for their happiness and well-being. We are all responsible for our own sense of happiness and well-being. And just being that support, just being there to lift up your loved one's happiness and put it on a pedestal, shine a light on it. I know I feel this way personally, where I will often feel like I'm just being a Debbie Downer. I'm not a fun person to be around. I'm like just kind of wallowing all the time. And having my loved ones point out like when I'm not being like that is super, super helpful, because I often just get caught pointing out all the negative things about the way I'm feeling or the way I'm acting and forgetting about, oh, I actually did feel really good that day. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Or I did have some fun with friends and I kind of like erased it from my mind. What are you doing? This is what my surroundings are when I'm trying to focus, so. It's difficult. Not complaining. I like it. I like it a lot. Where was I? So a few more things I want to mention before I get into the responses to my Instagram poll questionnaire thing is a reminder to not compare your loved one's condition with anyone else you know who has the same condition. It happens so much where people see my scars or whatever, like, oh, what happened? It's like, it's a really long story, but like I had ulcerative colitis. I got my colon removed when I was 18. I've had a lot of other surgeries and bowel obstructions, go through the whole thing. And then they're like, oh, my cousin had ulcerative colitis and totally cured himself by eating only yogurt or whatever the thing is. And trust me, I have tried. I have tried it all. If you're going to mention something to me saying that you just have to do this, you just have to do, I'm a yoga and meditation teacher, gluten-free, dairy-free, all the things. I know. Trust me. If you have heard in the grapevine somewhere that like, oh, this thing helped this person that I know, it's our bodies. We are dealing with this on a daily basis. So I think it is kind of expected. I mean, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but if you're out there with a chronic illness, has someone ever suggested something to you that you haven't heard before or haven't tried before? Probably the chances are super slim. And I know it comes from a great place. Like it's just love, like fueling that, you're like, oh, this person's suffering. I want this person to not suffer. I knew someone else who was suffering like this and they did this to not suffer. Have you tried this? It's all from a great place, I understand, but it's so exhausting because so many people do it. And it's really frustrating to kind of have everyone you tell this vulnerable thing to assuming that like, oh, you just haven't tried this one thing. Like you just have to put in a little bit more work and then you won't be sick anymore. I'm getting into the territory of my next video, which is going to be about manifestation and all that, but it's just usually not helpful. I mean, I think there are ways you can word it where it is a little bit more helpful. I think just kind of tiptoeing around the subject and being prepared that they won't respond well to it is something to keep in mind. because some people do get very mad and offended when you do bring up like, have you tried meditation? Anyway, I'm kind of getting off track again. Bottom line, remember that everyone is unique and everyone's experience, even with the same exact illness, is unique. And we all have different circumstances that are leading to where we are. So I don't know. It's, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking about times when people have brought up things to me where I have felt like that it was a sweet gesture. It was thoughtful. I've heard it a lot from people who really don't like when you do that. So again, just treat everyone like an individual. I think if it comes from a really good place, like no one's going to get mad at you. They might just get a little annoyed and then ask you to not bring things up to them like that again. But I don't know. I think if it's coming from a good place, because I am remembering one time when someone said, in a really kind way, just like, oh my God, like my uncle had that and he did this. Like, have you tried that before? And like I had tried it before, but I think I just appreciated the thoughtfulness. Like they are thinking of something that's helping me. So I don't know. I could just be totally putting my foot in my mouth by going so in on that, but let me know. Bottom line, remember that everyone is an individual and what works for someone else might not work for the person who you love. But honestly, I think that is a good thing to keep in mind for people with the chronic illness too. Like, it's been a while since I've done this, but I have gotten really caught in the past of looking at people who have gone through the same surgeries I've went through, has had the same experiences as I've had, and they seem to be living a good life and just trying to like copy and paste their efforts into my life and like, oh, what did they do? I have to do the same thing. So I think that's a really good thing to keep in mind for both. It's like, even if someone else has the same condition as you, we are different bodies. We have different genetic makeups, and what works for someone else is not going to work for you. And there might be some aspects of other people's routines that keep them in remission or healthier that you can bring into your life and help. Obviously, I'm a full advocate of yoga and meditation. It has significantly improved my life, my quality of life. But not in the way most people think. I think most people assume that like it makes my symptoms disappear. But my symptoms are well and alive. Don't you worry. I am shitting the bed nightly now. But it helps so much with the acceptance of it, or I don't know if we'll ever truly accept it, but working toward acceptance or working toward finding peace with your circumstances. That is what the practice of yoga is all about. It's learning to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And if you live with a chronic illness, life's pretty damn uncomfortable. So we might as well try to find some comfort in that discomfort. So again, healing practices, I'm a full advocate for them, but they are not a cure-all. So I will talk way more about that in the next video anyway. So getting into the IG responses, the question I asked in my story was, what is something that you wish your loved one understood about your chronic illness? And got some amazing responses. Thank you to everyone who responded. I'll put them all in the description too, so you can like read them. If you don't follow me on Instagram or didn't get a chance to respond, please add any more that I'm missing in the comments. Please, please, please. Thank you. Okay. The first one was, just because you want to be alone doesn't mean you don't want to see someone. And this was a thinker for me at first. It's actually with this particular person who wrote this comment, Mia, shout out. She doesn't care, I'm sure. But Mia is someone who is in my life who we don't get too many opportunities to see each other and hang out with each other. And sometimes when we do, oftentimes when we do get an opportunity, I'm feeling like shit and I don't want to see anyone. But I want to see her, but I don't want to see anyone. Does that make sense? I love the way she phrased it of being alone. Sometimes I'm just in a space where I'm running to the bathroom every 2 seconds. I'm kind of just like hunched over with a heating pad on my stomach, just like drinking tea. And I don't want to see anyone. I don't want anyone to see me in this state. I want to be alone. But if someone were to ask me like, oh, do you want to go see your friend? Do you love your friend? I'd be like, yes, of course I do. But I can't right now because I'm not in a good place and I need to be alone. So I think that's a really, really, really great one. Thank you so much, Mia, for that. I think people have such a hard time believing this. I think particularly in more codependent relationships. And this exact thing is the reason I don't have as many friends as I once had. I have plenty of amazing amazing friends, don't get me wrong, but I was someone when I grew up who had like just kind of friends with everyone, a lot of like casual friends almost. But when I was starting to get sick and through my diagnosis, there were a lot of people who didn't believe me when I said, I want to come, but I can't, I don't feel good. They just don't buy it, you know, like, oh, that's convenient. It's like, yeah, right. It's like, but I do want to come, but you don't have the energy to keep explaining it to other people of like, no, I do want to come. I promise. I really can't right now. I'm feeling like shit. So I think it's just super important to remember this from both perspectives. I think from the loved one's perspective, even if you don't see them as often as you'd like to, know that that's not a reflection on how they feel about you. It's a reflection of the shit they're going through in their own life, you know? And I know for myself, I can sometimes get really down on myself and feel like I'm a bad friend and kind of internalize all those voices that were not believing me when I said I was sick and thinking like, oh, maybe I could have rallied and gone. I think it's good to keep that in mind for us as well. Like, just because we want to be alone doesn't mean that we don't want to see someone. And I think that is just golden. So, you know, take it or leave it. This rings true for me. It might not for you. Again, we are all individuals. Okay, next one. Another one that kind of, you know, goes with what I've been saying throughout this whole video is that we're really sick and deserve empathy. I think a lot of people experience people in their lives not believing their illness, and it is the most exhausting and infuriating thing at the end of the day. So believe them. Believe your loved ones. Why would we want this? Of course we are deserving of empathy. Yes, we are really sick and we deserve empathy. 1000%. Thank you for that. Another one is it's not our fault and I don't know why things keep happening to me. Yup, it's not our fault. We don't know why this is happening. Our doctors don't even know why this is happening for the most part. It is an exhausting way to live. Just remember that I think a lot of people who are in relationships or love someone with a chronic illness, if you don't personally suffer from a chronic illness, you don't necessarily have that extra layer of things to consider before you do everything in your life. And for someone with an illness, our health and our symptoms are always that first layer. In order to do something, in order to make connections and build relationships, we have a layer we have to get through first. We have to first feel good enough to go and then be with this person without being a shell, you know? And it's not our fault. And we don't know why. Okay, next one. This actually, they all are kind of flowing together real nicely. How my method of communicating is very wild, but I always mean well. I can definitely relate to that. I think with my disclaimers that I've been putting more at the beginning of my videos, like, reach out to me, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. But also, I will respond as soon as I possibly can, which might be quite a while. My methods of communicating are very sporadic, which isn't the best for businessy things. Luckily, the business I'm in is incredibly flexible with video editing, working from home. But with friends too, you know, sometimes I can go weeks or months without talking to certain people or people in general. And when I do have the time and the energy to connect with people, I try to do it with all of myself. I try to like lay low as much as possible and then come out. And that's just what's been working for me lately. You know, I might make adjustments as I grow and change, as everyone does. To more of like a pacing, you know, like just not overdoing it. But my history and my present has been very much like go, 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 give all my energy, and then retreat, hibernate. So that's my way of doing things. It might not be your way, and that's totally okay. Okay, next one. This is a repeat. That it's fucking exhausting. Yep. I think I've covered that. It's exhausting. It is an exhausting way to live. This one is sweet. Life and love are great values. Absolutely, you know, and I think that's something that ultimately everything boils down to. And when you have so much less energy to spend on things that aren't as important to you, chronic illness really teaches you that. It's a fact that I don't have as much energy as some people do. So with the energy I do have, I need to really think about and consider my life and my values and what I value in my life and what I want to spend my time doing, what I want to spend my energy doing. Because like I said, we don't have as much. This is an exhausting lifestyle. So with that exhaustion comes a little less time. So you need to value your time a little bit more. And you have less time for bullshit, which, I think that's a great thing. So yeah, that's one of the, that's the biggest thing I love about, it's weird to say love, but that's the biggest blessing I've found from living with chronic illnesses, is that it leaves little time, little energy for things that don't matter. So your life becomes a lot more meaningful. Yay. Okay. Last one. This one I alluded to earlier, but the last one is sometimes the pain isn't that bad, but the fear response to pain is worse. And absolutely, I don't have too much else to add to that. I think so much of the stress and tension involving a chronic illness is that anticipatory pain, that clenching, that resisting that you feel, which is what yoga helps me so much with, particularly yin yoga, which is what my training is for at the end of April. So I'm so excited to be able to share that more with you guys. So I'm so excited to be able to share that more with you all. And it's an incredibly beautiful and helpful practice when it comes to dealing with deeper issues. It gets to your deep connective tissues. And I know a lot of chronic illnesses involve issues with the tissues. So this style of yoga it's so accessible. And if you're curious about it, I do have some yin classes on my YouTube. If you look at my playlist, there is a playlist that says yin yoga. I'll link it up here and down in the description. But, do some research of your own. Bernie Clark is an amazing teacher. He's who I have the books from. There's some amazing information, amazing teachers out there. And I know a lot of people have had an increase of their quality of life when living with these issues, and like I said, we have less energy to spend on things that take our energy from us, and yoga is, especially yin yoga, is something that gives to your life. But, yin and yang, there's so many different styles of yoga, and I can definitely make videos in the future going more into differentiating them and trying to pick which style of yoga is best for you, because I'm sure if you're new to the practice, you probably get overwhelmed seeing all the different names of classes like Hatha and Vinyasa and Yin and Iyengar and Bikram and all of the stuff. So I know that can get confusing. If you're interested in seeing a video of me talking more about that stuff, then just drop a comment and I'll get right on it. But generally speaking, if you have a more active lifestyle, then yin yoga is very complementary to the active lifestyle. And if you have a more passive, laid back lifestyle, then a yang or more invigorating style of yoga is going to be more complementary for you. And, we are always changing, our lifestyles are changing. So I think a little bit of both is always best. But to target those deeper connective tissues where a lot of the fear response and that clenching I was talking about is held and stored is really deep within our tissues, within our body. So just speaking particularly on the fear response to pain, I think yin yoga has helped me immensely with that. I still get it, for sure. It's still there. I'm still afraid of certain foods just because of past experiences with those foods, but practicing getting in deeper to myself, to my, my core, the core of me, it's a really, really helpful practice for everyone. Even if you're watching this and don't have a chronic illness, I highly recommend yoga in general, but particularly yin yoga is my jam. So yeah. Wow, is that all my notes? I think I covered everything. Obviously, there's a lot I covered in this and a lot of factors to keep in mind, but I think it can all pretty much be boiled down to remember that everyone is an individual and ask questions and listen and be honest. Simple stuff, but we gotta remind ourselves. It's okay. We got this. All right, I'm ready to stop talking now. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and you want to like it, then please like the video. If you want to leave a comment sharing your own experiences, please do. Again, I'll always respond as soon as I am able and have the energy. Hit subscribe. Oh my God, if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit subscribe. I'm at 547 subscribers and I love you all so much. Let's get to 600. Whatever the number is, I'm gonna love that number and each person that number stands for regardless. So thank you. Stay tuned for more videos. I got a lot cooking up. I will always post when I got the energy. I'm not on a strict schedule of posting. I'm sorry, I'll always post when I'm ready, and I hope the videos are so good that it makes you not mad at me for not posting more, even though no one probably cares. Okay, I will see you in the next video. Gracie girl, can you chill, hun? It's just a leaf, baby girl. It's just a leaf. Wow, big burps today. Okay, bye!